Hi, Andrea. Welcome back to the High Vibration Living podcast.
Hello, Whitney. I love that you are a high vibration, sister.
Oh, thank you. I just love chatting with you. It's such a treat. You are like such a beautiful wealth of wisdom, but you simplify health. And I think that's a really amazing thing to do when you've been in the game for as long as you have been, and you come from multiple perspectives. Most nutritionists can't cook. You're a chef and a nutritionist. So you can guide people verbally and then also show them physically how to nourish themselves. And you've been doing it for so long and you continue to teach with joy. So it's always just a pleasure to connect with you here.
Oh, thank you, sister. I love that. Yeah, I think joy is really important. Like if we're doing work that is draining our energy and zapping the life out of us, you're going to lose your joy real quick.
It's true. It's true. You always, and I think everybody, even when you have found your passion, has ebbs and flows within it.
Mm,
And so you're constantly having to redirect.
yeah, it's true.
But then sometimes those ebbs and flows, the times where we don't find joy in what we do, sometimes might have nothing to do with the actual job and will have to do with what's going on in our body.
Yes.
Imbalances, diet, changes in our food that we don't even know about, right? So if we've been
Yes.
purchasing our proteins from the same places all these years, but now they're changing
Mm,
somehow the ingredients in it, the way they're processing it, they're adding a chemical. It's changing how we digest it, how we feel in our body, and then it's changing our
everything.
yeah, our mindset, our digestive health,
Yes.
our positivity.
Yes.
Sometimes
And
it's
by
not
the way, overwork can drain your life force as well,
yeah,
right? So if you look at the way that the world is set up, it's like go, 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 got to keep going and do this on this thing and that thing. And don't forget your social media, right? It'll suck the life out of you, take the
yeah,
joy out of it.
yeah. So how do you make time for vacation and for pausing? Because you are so in tune with nature and the seasons and the times to slow down, but you also offer one-on-one servicing to people. How do you step away?
Well, one of the ways that I do it is that I don't overbook myself.
Okay.
So I do have one-on-one coaching, and I do retreats, and I do group classes, and I have an online community. I have a lot of stuff going on, but I don't overbook myself. And I know it's easy if you have your calendar on your phone, it's easy to just fill in all those slots, right? But if I have my little book where I write in,
Yes.
if I put more than two or three things on a day, it starts to look busy on this. And
Yeah.
I'm like, no, okay, that's it for that. I'll look at 2 weeks from now or a week from now. So I'm always making sure that I'm not overbooked in any season, right? Spring, summer, fall, winter, especially in the winter when you kind of like need to calm down a little bit and go within. Um, but that's part of not burning out. You know, I don't need to have my calendar be full 7 days a week to know that I'm working, right? Um, I just know that I'm in the world, and as I'm in the world, the work will always be there. It's always going to be there. It's not going anywhere. You got I don't know how many hundreds of millions and billions of people on the planet. They all need some kind of health support. So I'm not worried about not having enough clients ever.
Yeah.
Right? They're always going to be there. But I always make sure that I'm nourished and supported first. And part of that is making sure that I'm not overbooked for anything.
Absolutely. So we're quickly entering the season of summer. That
Mm.
was a super fast transition from spring into summer. Here we are. I'd love to know from you, is there anything in particular right now that clients are coming to you for as we're in this transition? What's the theme that you're seeing?
Oh gosh, well, I'll tell you an overall transition that I see most often. Um, it is kidney fatigue,
Oh,
right? Exhaustion. And when I say kidney fatigue, I mean like chronic fatigue, adrenal exhaustion,
mhm.
um, uh, inability to sleep.
Yeah.
So many people have an inability to sleep. It's crazy. And that's where we're renewing ourselves at night when we're asleep. So if you don't get good quality sleep in the night, you're going to wake up in a deficit, which is not good, the way, especially the way how busy our world is. Um, and also, I'm 57, so a lot of the clients that are coming to me now are like menopausal women, and they're dry, and their eyes are dry, and their skin is dry, and their hair is dry, and everything, all the things are dry. They're not feeling joy, right? Because when we get dry, um, our lubrication makes us irrit. If we're lacking lubrication, and it's not just lubrication down there, it's in order to blink, you need to be lubricated in
Yeah.
order to breathe. So if you're not lubricated, you get irritated,
Yeah.
right? So they're struggling with irritation, irritability, anger. A lot of anger comes up, especially around menopause.
That's so interesting because we were just chatting about, I wanted to talk to you more about the liver. And I know irritation and anger often relates to stuff being kind of stuck in stagnation with the liver and having not, you know, the sign that we need to do a liver cleanse or edit our diet in a way that it is more gentle on the liver.
Yeah, so the liver has a big job. Like all your organs have a big job, but the liver specifically is metabolizing everything. So we walk outside and we're bombarded with toxins, right?
Yes.
In the air, in the water, in the dirt, in the soil, in your house, right? You have to, there's toxins everywhere, and your liver has to metabolize all of that. And not only that, but every single thing you eat, no matter how healthy it is, your liver has to metabolize that as well. So if you are not supporting your liver in some way, or if your liver is exhausted, there's not enough liver blood or liver energy, then you're going to get irritable. Or if, like you said, stagnation, if it's stuck, right? If the liver bile ducts and the gallbladder ducts are stuck, because they're considered a complementary organ system, liver and gallbladder. So
Yeah.
if the ducts are congested, or if you have thick, sludgy bile, you're going to have anger issues that come up because you're not going to be able to process what you need to process. So traditionally around the world, in the springtime, people would do a liver cleanse, but maybe not intentionally. What they would do is fast. Right? Every spring, you look at all the religions around the world, right? There's some type of fasting in the spring.
Yeah.
And fasting frees up your liver from metabolizing, right? It frees up that process. And then your body can get to cleaning house, so to speak, spring cleaning, getting to all the stuff that's kind of sitting in the corners, and you got to clear that out. And these cells are full of debris. And, it just starts to clean house on its own. So if you don't fast in the spring, you can have congestion in the liver as you move into the summer, which is terrible for the heart, right? Because if the liver's not functioning optimally, you'll get something called liver heat rising. And when
Yeah.
the liver heat rises, it impacts the heart. And if the heart is getting overheated and you're in the middle of summer, you're getting external heat and internal heat, then you're looking at heart attack, heat stroke, blood pressure going up. You're looking at a lot of different problems. So we really need to support the liver, and this is a great time of year to do it. I mean, every time of year is the time to do it, but most often in the spring and moving into summer. And there's lots of ways to do that.
Yeah, I think especially I'm 44, and whenever I hear people talk about cleansing or
Mm,
detox, I think restriction. And
mm,
I'm at a point in my life where the thought of more restriction is too much, right? Because as a woman, we've been restricting since we were 11. Like,
Yep.
I'm exhausted. Um, I'm just so grateful that, I know how to eat, healthy, delicious,
Mm,
seasonal food. I know how to prepare food properly. Um, I just try to ebb and flow within that. But we still need to take a time to really edit in different seasons so we don't carry things
yeah.
that no longer serve us. Are there ways to do a liver cleanse that's more gentle, that's just editing the way we eat or editing the way we cook and getting the same results?
100%. So if you do something like a beet apple fennel salad,
Ooh,
yeah.
that sounds so good.
It's so yummy. It's so yummy. And um, it has beets, apple, and fennel, so you're bulking up the intestines with fiber. The beets are also a classic blood builder. The fennel supports the digestive system. The apple also supports the digestive system as it contains malic acid, so it binds with cholesterol and it binds with other stuff and just moves things through the digestive system. It also softens stones, malic acid, right? So you have this beet apple fennel salad with lemon juice and olive oil, right? So when people think about cleansing, oftentimes they're like, I'm drinking lemon juice in the water, right? Lemon in my water and lemon. So you're having this lemon and olive oil mixture with this beet apple fennel. It's supporting your whole digestive system to do a cleanse. So what I'll do is I'll recommend clients that can't fast, right? They don't want to feel any restriction, to do this beet apple fennel salad for like 10 days for breakfast,
Ooh.
right? For breakfast. And what it does is it's just going to get the whole system flowing a little bit better. But you can't have it on a cold stomach because it's a cold salad.
Yeah.
So the way to get around that is to start your day with a strong, warm cup of ginger tea because you're
Okay.
bringing a lot of fire into the digestive system. And then you have your beet salad and
Okay.
you'll be able to break down the nutrients and you'll be able to process them well and it'll move through your system better. So oftentimes when women specifically, when they start to eat a lot of salads, they find that they get bloated and distended and they can't process. It's because it's too cold.
Yes, and, Rebecca Wood, who I know you have probably her whole new Whole Foods encyclopedia. She talks about in the book, that when you eat a bunch of cold salads, you're putting basically ice on the digestive fire.
Yeah,
So, one thing to do is if you're gonna have the cold salad, pull it out of the fridge 30 minutes before you eat it, so it gets closer to room temperature, so it's not ice cold.
very
So,
smart.
maybe when you go to make the ginger tea, you pull the salad out knowing you're gonna have it in 20 minutes, but then it's not as shocking
Cold.
to the system.
Totally. Totally. Like we think, like you said something really interesting. You said we've been restricting ourselves since we're 11 years old, right? It's the truth. Like women are in a dieting mentality. I need a salad. I need fish. I need,
Yeah.
grilled chicken with
I
nothing
mean,
on it.
it's kind of ridiculous, but I remember when I was in elementary school, I mean, this is terrible, but I remember when all the girls were talking about, they were weighing themselves because
Mm.
right around 5th grade or 6th grade is when we hit 100 pounds simply because of
Wow.
our height. We were all skinny kids, but it was like an issue to be over 100 pounds. Like,
Wow.
that is ridiculous that we were weighing ourselves and we're aware of that.
Yeah.
Um, so that's why I think to myself, I know I'm probably not the only woman out there that wants to take care of their body. Definitely can feel when there's a buildup in there and we
Yeah.
need to let things out. But the idea of another juice fast is it we can't do it anymore.
No, no, you can't do it anymore. And it doesn't help, right? It's a short-term fix and it doesn't really help.
Boomerang effect.
Yes.
And, um, so many of these theories and things that we discussed are from my time at Natural Gourmet Institute. And I remember one of the chefs there talking about the boomerang effect, especially when
Mm.
cleansing, that if you just start and stop your usual routine and start juice fasting right away, you're going to boomerang back, meaning as soon as that juice fast stops and ends, you're going to gouge on food that defeated the purpose of doing the cleanse. And I think that's what I'm always looking for now, these gentle changes
Mhm.
to move things in and out of the body.
Yeah, that's very smart. And it's so true. And the fact that when people always think about a cleanse as something I get on and I get off and I get on and I get off and I get on and I get on, like a roller coaster ride. Um, but I love your idea to do it gently, right? So like even when I was talking about the beet apple fennel salad,
Mhm.
you'd have that for breakfast and then you'd have a normal lunch and a dinner,
Okay.
right? So that there's no deprivation. But
Okay.
you're just starting the digestive system filled with fiber and bulk and all that stuff just to move everything through. And one thing that's really important is to build blood. And I know it sounds like an odd, maybe not a diagnosis, but women have a tendency to be in a state of blood deficiency,
Yes. Because we
right?
bleed every month.
That's correct. So we bleed, the uterine lining comes off and then we have to build it again. So the woman's body is internally stronger than a man's body, and man's body is externally stronger than a woman's body. That's the way that we're designed. And because of that bleeding process for 40, 50 years,
Mhm.
we get into a state of blood deficiency, especially if we're not absorbing the nutrients that we need. So, women that are dieting all the time and depriving themselves of like real food, they're going to be going into a state of blood deficiency. And in Western medicine, blood deficiency is defined as anemia. But in Eastern medicine, there are many, many symptoms prior to getting to anemia,
Okay.
right? So one of them is that you can't go to the bathroom, you get constipated, right? Because the blood is the energy that's giving all of your organs and your systems what it needs. It's giving it nutrients, it's giving it energy, it's giving it oxygen. So if you go into a state of blood deficiency, you're going to get dry hair, you're going to get dry peeling nails, you're going to get splitting hair, right?
Yeah.
With blood deficiency, like how many women do you know they complain, I got split ends, I got split ends. It's because they're actually in a state of blood deficiency.
They're drying out from the inside.
Yes. Yes, that's exactly right. Because blood is the lubricator. It's
Wow.
literally the fluid that's nourishing everything.
So we're spending all this money on products for our hair because it's not as shiny and youthful looking as it used to be, because internally it's not as shiny and youthful as it used to be
That's right.
because we're not building enough blood.
That's right. Or at least not good quality blood,
Okay.
right? The blood could be deficient. The blood could be not strong. Like uh a good example is somebody who is dizzy. Just little spots of dizziness. They could just be walking. Ooh, I just felt a little dizzy. Not necessarily from a sitting and a standing position. They just get dizzy or they feel a little lightheaded. They're not grounded, right? Because blood is helping us get grounded in our body. Blood makes us juicy. I hate to say it. Right? So if the cannibals come, anemia is a good thing because you're not going to be very delicious. They're not going to go for you.
Yeah. So yeah, head to a mosquito zone. It'll work out for you.
Yeah. So we gotta build the blood. And it's interesting because we're moving from spring into summer.
Hmm.
And what's something that is eaten often in summertime? And summertime is fire. It's connected to the heart. It's connecting to blood, right? What is a food that's eaten in the summertime often?
I just think of everything that's juicy. I think tomatoes, apricots, plums, melons, like all the food of summer is so
Juicy.
juicy and moist and
Yeah.
hydrating. Cucumbers, like everything you break into is dripping with water.
Yeah. Yeah. So our blood is made up of a lot of water, mostly water,
Yeah.
right? So you hit the nail on the head. Juicy, right?
Okay.
Everything that's juicy. And that also includes red meat, right? So what goes
Oh,
on
that.
summertime? Barbecue, red meat, right? That's on the grill. So women have a tendency, and I don't know how much of your audience is women. I'm probably going to say 90%, right?
Ooh, I think it's like a 70-30.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's great. Um, so the 70% of the audience, when they go out to dinner, they're usually choosing chicken or fish,
I know. It's true.
right? And
Yeah.
that's from a dieting mentality.
Yeah.
That's from a dieting mentality that we've been conditioned and programmed to. We have to have the lighter thing to fit into the size 2 jeans. It would be more than 100 pounds, right?
Yeah, I was just joking. I was just interviewing a chef, and he started his career with barbecue sauce. And he asked me, how much barbecue sauce do you buy? And I said, I never buy barbecue sauce. I'm a chef. You will never catch me buying barbecue sauce for myself because as a woman, I don't put sauce on things because I have been trained, as most women, and I've just noticed this as being a personal chef for over 10 years, women don't want the sauce. They want the salad dressing on the side. Like,
Gosh.
bring me the food as dry as possible. Versus men, they want as much sauce, as much dressing, as much moisture as possible.
Yes.
It's that we eat in two completely different ways.
Yeah.
Um, but it's so interesting that the women are willing to consume in discomfort.
Hmm.
They're willing to not have the added flavor, the healthy fat, the sauce, the joy, um, because they think they'll get a better result. And what it's
Mhm.
sounding like is, no, we're just continuing habits that are drying us out, that are going to affect
Yes.
us. And what we're going to see, it's actually everything women complain about in their 40s and 50s. But it's a buildup of these uncomfortable edits that we've been making.
That's right. That's right. And you're 100% right. When the man goes to the restaurant, he's like, I'll have the steak with extra gravy, put it right on top, and a slab of butter.
Bring me three sauces. Like, oh, I only get to choose from the peppercorn and the chimichurri. Well, we'll take both, and then we're over there with our, plain protein and
Yeah.
steamed veggies.
A dry piece of chicken
I know.
sitting sadly on a plate on a
Yeah,
bed of lettuce that's not dressed. It's
yeah,
terrible.
the fools we are. So this actually, I have to first go back to the salad that you've brought up, the fennel, apple, and beet salad.
Yeah.
Do we need to cook the beets? Can we have them raw, or is eating it both ways great?
Okay, so eating it both ways is great. If you know that you have a low digestive fire,
Mhm.
then cook the beets,
Okay.
right? If you have a medium, and when I say low digestive fire, it's you're always cold, you get distended whenever you eat anything. Constipation usually indicates low digestive fire. Um, if you know that you can digest food well, then you can certainly have it raw.
Okay.
Right? But if you're feeling like you're not absorbing, then more cooked food, less raw food.
Perfect. I'm gonna
Yeah.
try this salad. And you said 10 days with a little
Yeah.
with ginger tea beforehand?
Yeah, totally. A ginger tea
Yes.
beforehand, try it for 10 days, have 1 to 2 cups in the morning. Make
Yeah.
sure that it's juicy. Like for this salad, you have to do half and half lemon juice and olive oil,
Okay.
right? Um, and that will make this salad work better.
Well, can we, because variety is the spice of life. Can we add fresh dill, fresh cilantro, fresh
Oh yeah.
herbs?
100%.
Okay.
Make it delicious. If you're eating a food, no matter how healthy it is, and it's not delicious, it's not going to serve you, right? So make it delicious for sure. Because, part of being here in a human body is to have fun with our senses, right? To give us something that's going to make us salivate, right? You really want to enjoy that meal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would also recommend, doing like some type of tea like this throughout the day if you're looking to support your liver. So this is goji berry, which builds blood. Jujube dates also builds blood.
Yes.
A little bit of ginger for some heat in here. I put in a little bit of nettles, which is so mineral rich in here, and some bupleurum, and that is an herb that moves the liver. It disperses stuck liver energy. It's a good one. It's a good one. Oh, and some chrysanthemum to cool down liver fire.
Yeah, that's a great tea for the summer because it helps cool you down.
Yes. Yes. Another great tea for the summer
Yeah.
is a hibiscus.
Yeah.
Hibiscus with like hawthorn berry.
Good
So good for the
call.
heart.
Good call. I need to make some of that for the weekend. No, one thing that I've noticed, and I'm curious if any of your clients have said this. I've, as growing up my whole life, I've always been a lizard on a hot rock. I love the heat. I love the sunshine. Like, I can't get enough of that. And I've noticed the older I've gotten, the more heat adverse I am. I get overheated faster. I can't handle the heat like I used to. So I'm wondering if it's actually it's a buildup of something. I'm getting overheated, not because in the environment, because of something else in my body. And it's a sign I need a detox. And then I can be more uncomfortable. I can be more comfortable in any environment that I'm in. Have you ever noticed that with any of your clients? Have they come to
Well,
you and said they used to be fine with heat, now it's too much?
well, yeah, especially as because you said you're in your 40s.
Hmm.
Yeah, so especially as you're going toward perimenopause and menopause, the body can start to get drier. So if you are dry and you're out in the hot sun, you're getting even drier. Right? Because I mean, everybody knows you go to the beach for a day and you're having fun in the sun and then you crash out in the night, just exhaustion, totally dehydrated. Right? You got to drink everything in the cabinet and aloe vera, so you could be moving toward the stage of life where you're actually starting to get a little drier.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so make sure that you're well hydrated and lubricated internally so that you can handle the heat. Hibiscus is great. Like I said, that's great for the summer heat. It'll help you cool down. And also, something to consider is that there could be things in our air and in our environment that are irritating you as well. Like cloud seeding, right? They're putting
Yeah.
aluminum and metal particles up in the sky to deflect the sun's rays, which is crazy because where's that coming? All those metal particles coming down onto us, right? So there could be something else that could be irritating you as well, and irritating your skin. I can't even imagine. Like I'm trying to envision 10 years from now with all of this cloud seeding, what's going to happen to all the plants on the planet that require sunlight. It's the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. But
It is. In 2020, I needed to just get away from the chaos,
mm,
you know? Um, Everyone gets to choose how they participate in world events. I didn't want to participate. So I found a very remote island in Croatia that I decided to go to for vacation. I just needed to get away.
yeah.
So I went to this island called Vis. It's the most remote island in Croatia. It's kind of right in between Croatia and Italy. And it used to be ruled by the Venetians. So you go there and you think it's more Italian than Croatian. But I'm literally in the middle of the ocean. You can't see any other land masses. And I'm at a beach by myself and I see the cloud seeding, the spraying of the
Oh,
lines off the island. They're basically spraying in the middle of the ocean, in the middle of nowhere. And
oh,
it's going to obviously spread out to the coast of Croatia and the coast of Italy and Puglia. But I just thought, this is this is insane. I'm on an island. There's maybe 500 people. Like we're literally in the middle of the ocean, and they're spraying.
it's
Like you
so
can't make this
crazy.
up. Like up. Like
It's crazy. It's like a disconnect from the planet that you're living on and the biosphere that you're living in. Like I just I think people have lost their minds, like they're so disconnected that they're just lost their minds.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, poor
So I
things.
just bring it up because it just is a reminder that we may, over the next 10 years, just have to do a little bit more work to take
Yeah.
care of our physical bodies. But I think it's also just a great lesson for us to learn a little bit more about our physical bodies and the seasons. And we're just going to have to take a little more time to
Mm,
take care of us so we can function during this time. It
yeah.
doesn't mean it has to be forever, but it's just for right now. So, when it comes to summer foods, what are other things that you recommend people do or that you like to do yourself for hydration?
Oh, well, I mean, you talked about it before, all the juicy fruits,
Mhm.
right? As those come into season, wow, watermelon tomato salad. Oh my gosh, cucumber, cucumber feta salad with, oh,
Yeah.
please, come on, don't get me started. Like today, I was walking with my dog and there's a mulberry tree or two mulberry trees actually
Oh,
in the
wow.
little town. And I'm
Yeah.
standing there picking the mulberries from the
So lucky.
tree. So like get those fruits into the system. This is the season
Okay.
for fruit, an abundance of fruit everywhere that you look. Mangoes, watermelon, every kind of melon, strawberries, right? Um, get those fruits for hydration. And the fruits aren't just water. Like people think, oh, I'm dehydrated, I need to drink water. But if they're drinking distilled water or filtered water, they're not getting minerals, right? They're not getting those minerals. The water's just going to pass right through them. They're just going to be urinating all day long. So a little bit of mineral salts, or have a tea, right?
Yeah.
Have a tea that you're infusing the water with the elements from the leaves and the roots and all that stuff. Even fruit, right? Fruit is not just water. Fruit is vitamin C, and it's got all this other stuff in it. And it's got, I mean, let's go to those places. It also has sunshine and wind and air and earth, right?
Yeah.
So think about water in a different context, right? It's not just a glass of water that's going to hydrate you. What's in the water, or where's the water coming from? And you could even do wonderful summer soups like a bouillabaisse, fish soup, a seafood soup, right? Summertime. All of that is hydrating. You're getting all that iodine, you're getting all those minerals, you're getting all those liquid proteins, right? You're getting a lot of stuff. And even like a gazpacho.
I know that's what I'm looking forward to personally is the summer gazpacho because you put cucumbers in it, tomatoes, bell peppers, garlic. You can add herbs. I think it's great hydration.
Yes.
I do like to chill it and serve it
Yeah.
cold, but then I like to serve it with a nice piece of hot cooked fish. So that's
Oh,
what I love to
nice.
serve it with a piece of grilled fish or baked salmon. So you kind of have a balance there.
Yeah. I love that. That's why people love your cooking.
Well, I want to feel balanced. So
Yeah.
I always think of the plate as how can we make it balanced?
Yeah.
Because if the, as we know, if the plate is imbalanced, you're going to keep craving food after the meal is done. You're
That's
not
right.
going to be satisfied. And so it's about how can we make the meal as balanced as possible so I can be satiated and not be fixated on food for the next 3 or 4 hours afterwards.
Well, yeah, that's really brilliant, because if you look at the snacking industry,
I
there's a
know.
reason why they're exploding, right? People will generally eat and they're not satisfied, right? Because either something's missing, nutrition is missing,
Yeah.
fat is missing, flavor is missing,
Yeah.
beauty is missing, but something's missing from the meal. And then after dinner, they're like, I need a snack. Or after lunch, I need a snack. Or I need a snack, 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 snacking all day long, snack, snack, because they're not satisfied. There's so many ways to make a meal satisfying. I'll give you a fun example. I just did a retreat in upstate New York, and my sous chef Marjana is fantastic. And we had a whole roasted steelhead trout, which was gorgeous,
Yeah.
and we had white rice with it. And she said, "Oh, let's put something in the rice." And we had this hibiscus tea from, loose hibiscus tea from Egypt that was there. And she's like, "I'm going to put the hibiscus into the rice," and I was like, "Oh, that's great."
I
And
love it.
it was first of all beautiful. It had like this purple red color, and she chopped up some scallions and put it in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just something like that, stimulating, right? Looking at the meal and looking at what went from plain white rice into like this beautiful pink purple with green speckles rice, and then the steelhead trout was on top of that. It was visually beautiful and stimulating and satisfying. It wasn't like plop on a plate. Right? It had a little more body to it.
Yeah.
And it was absolutely delicious.
Is there a way that men and women need to eat food differently in the summer, um, for how their body and what their body's needs are? Or whether you're a man or a woman, do you really kind of need the same things through every season?
I'm not sure it's more man and woman. It's more individual and activity levels,
Okay.
right? So Michael Jordan is going to be eating something very differently than one of the Real Housewives, right?
Yes.
Right? These are two different activity levels, right? One is out shopping, right, on the credit card, and one is out, doing basketball and all this stuff. And I know I'm dating myself, Michael
Yes.
Jordan, but
We
just
got
as an
you.
example. So Individually, we're going to have different energy levels. So if you are finding that when you eat food, your feet get swollen or your hands get swollen,
Yeah.
then you're eating food, but you're not really digesting well,
Okay.
right? So then you have to nourish the spleen. And that's in Chinese medicine, right? You have to
Yes.
nourish the spleen because the spleen, stomach, pancreas are considered one organ system, and it's going to help you to break down and absorb and assimilate nutrients, right? The food's going to come into the stomach, and if you don't have enough stomach acid, you won't be able to break that down and then pass it to the small intestine and have everything be absorbed. So, something to consider is that here in America specifically, so many people are focusing on high stomach acid and lowering the stomach acid because they're getting acid reflux, but it's actually the opposite. They don't have enough acid and enough stomach fire to process the food, and it sits there for a longer period of time, creating a backup. And so that's when they'll get swollen hands, swollen feet, like acid coming back up.
Yeah.
So, uh, where was I going with that?
Well, so many people think that their swollen ankles or swollen fingers is because, oh, I just ate something that doesn't work for me. No,
Mm,
I just, there must have been something in that meal. Oh, we can't go back to that restaurant. And it actually might not have anything to do with that if they're eating real whole foods and not
that's
eating a
right.
bunch of processed food. It could simply have to do with their inability to digest and metabolize their food.
That's correct.
Wild.
Yeah, like you could be eating the best food in the world, but if your absorption isn't working well, if you or your ability to absorb and break down and digest that food isn't working well, then it's not really the best food in the world, right? So you could
Yeah.
spend millions of dollars or thousands of dollars on I got the best grass-fed this and I or everything's organic, but you're eating it and you're not really absorbing it, or your ability to absorb it is compromised. You don't have enough energy, right? So there's blood and there's chi, right? Chi is energy, and um, blood and chi work together. So if you have energy, you can break down your food and turn it into blood. And if you don't have energy, you can't break down your food and turn it into blood. And blood actually feeds chi. So it's like a
And
right?
now we all know why we have no life force energy. That is why we are spent. That is really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so we have to look at things not so much from a scientific perspective, but more of an energetic perspective.
Mhm.
What's working and what's not, and then why is this not working? Like what am I doing? Uh, like again, you could sit down to the best meal in the world, but if you're under high stress, you're also not absorbing it,
Mhm.
right? So we have to look at so many different factors. I think that health and wellness is much simpler than we've been taught. We've been taught micronutrients, macronutrients, take this, take that, take right. But we haven't been taught, well, you have to be able to digest your food. And how do you digest your food? You have to relax when you're sitting to eat,
Yeah.
right? So ancient people or generations previous to us, they would sit down and they would say a prayer or say grace, or they'd have a moment of gratitude, right? It brings you down into your body. It helps you to relax, and then you could process your food, right? But if you're running and gunning, right? I got to do this, got to do that, can't do that, having a fight with this one, got to get, you're not processing, not
Yeah.
processing well.
And I always feel like the easiest way to eat food is outside because you're forced to slow down and relax, and there are less distractions. It's a lot easier to eat your meal and taste it and let it digest if you're just staring at a tree than
Mm,
if you're sitting in the house, letting your thoughts run wild, playing with any technology. I find it's just so much easier to get outside when you can.
that's really smart. And you remember when, I'm sure when you were growing up, as when I was growing up, we used to do something that's foreign to these days. It was called a picnic.
I know.
Right? You'd put everything into a little basket and you'd go to the local park and you'd sit down and you'd have a picnic.
So nice. It really
Yeah.
is. So, like, this time of year, if I'm planning to go to the beach on the weekend, I
Mm,
always try to get out of the house before lunchtime, so that way I take my lunch with me. Even though it's a hassle, it's
mm.
more stuff to carry down to the beach, but it's so much more enjoyable to eat the
Yes.
food outside on the sand, than at home in the house.
Yeah, it's true. And you're right. Like people will sit and they'll eat their food and they'll be looking at the thing or they'll be watching TV or something like that. There'll be some way that's distracting them from the actual process of eating and digesting food. Like let's say you're sitting at the beach and you're eating your food, watching the waves
I
come
know.
in,
Yeah.
right?
With that
What
sound vibration. I mean,
Yes. Yes. I mean, that is healing in itself. I mean, that meal is going to be much more nourishing to the body than the one where you're sitting down and you're watching Hawaii Five-O on the television.
I know. I know.
Again,
It's
dating myself.
I mean, I still have to check myself sometimes, but, uh, if I can get outside with the meal, it makes all the
Mm.
difference. I find that always helps with digestion, but if there are a few other things people were gonna do this summer to help digestion, they can take digestive
Yeah.
enzymes, they can have more thoughtful teas like chrysanthemum, ginger, hibiscus, anything else that they can do to improve digestion this summer?
Yeah, even a simple chamomile tea,
Okay.
right?
Just
So
like great book.
chamomile, yeah, chamomile used to be in all the restaurants, chamomile and mint. Those are classic digestives. Like classic. Um, and somehow they've lost their allure, right? Everybody wants a double triple cream latte. Right? And I'm not saying that coffee's a bad thing. Coffee's not a bad thing. But if you are struggling with spinning thoughts that can't land, then
Mhm.
coffee's not a good thing.
Why is that?
So coffee stimulates the body to go, right? It's a stimulant.
Yeah.
So if you are running on empty and you put a stimulant in to make you go, then your thoughts are going to spin because they can't really land. So you'll be going, 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 going. This is going around and around and around and around and around, but there's nothing to ground it because there's an empty energy internally. So it's like a double whammy. A cat, like you're putting in the stimulant to give you more energy, and then it's wasting your energy, right? Because you have to try and catch up after that. And a lot of people are just subsisting on fumes.
Yeah, and that makes sense from a spiritual standpoint because I've had a lot of teachers say never drink coffee
Mm.
before you do a meditation or before you go to any sort of meditative retreat or take an online class or any of the sort because it's going to affect the quality of the meditation or your ability to be healed by the
Yeah,
light that you're pulling into the body. And that makes sense because a part of you staying up here, you aren't dropping in.
dropping in. Right? Dropping in. Oh boy. And that's where the joy comes from,
Yeah.
right? Right?
Yeah,
It's
this is a good spot to stimulate on the body. Sometimes I'll just tap that to get the lymph flowing, or if I'm in overwhelmed, I just massage that area. It seems to
so
be like
smart.
a big energetic open and closed door, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Like in ancient medicine, they say the heart is the true motivator of the human spirit,
Oh,
right? And if you look at our world today, unfortunately, how prevalent is heart attack?
yeah. And all it's done over the past 100 years is increase.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've always wondered about that. I'll share this, personal information. So my great grandfather was a lawyer in the army and he was a colonel and they couldn't promote him to general because they told him he had a weak heart.
Hmm.
And so ultimately he finished his service, he retired and had a heart attack within 2 years and died.
Wow.
And I always wondered about the energetics of that quote unquote weak heart. What
Mm,
did he have a weak heart because of the positions he had to serve in World War I and World War II, and
mm,
what he saw was everything that he took in as a man, emotionally, what made the heart weak, not
Mm,
that his heart was weak. Does that make sense?
yeah, it totally
Our
makes sense.
our organs become weak not because we overuse them, but because of what we take in and we can't process, right?
Right. That's right. Like there's a lot that we see that can't be processed,
Mhm.
right? And if you look, and again, I'll point to this, but you look at someone's feed and they got this one's dying, this one's getting killed, this is war is happening. How much can the heart take?
Yeah.
How much? Be and I always feel like just what you said, I always feel like that the calcification of the tissue and the hardening of the arteries and the hardening of this is because there's so much happening, penetrating, that this will get harder and harder and harder and harder to
Protection.
protect itself,
Yes.
right?
I don't think the rise in heart attacks in men or women has as much to do with their food choices
Mhm.
or the supplements or the pharmaceuticals that they choose to take to try to keep themselves healthy. I think it has to do with the emotions that
Mhm.
we aren't processing, and because of television and social media, we're visually taking in more than our physical, emotional, spiritual, and mental bodies should be able to sustain.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, right? It's kind of sad. And I think even more frustrating for men because women classically we can process. We're allowed to process. We're allowed to cry.
Yeah.
We're allowed to feel our emotions. I mean, people say, "Oh, she's hysterical" or whatever, um
At least
but
it's not
men,
us anymore.
right? But guys, poor guys, right? If they cry, if they show that they're sensitive, if they show that their heart is hurting, they're considered weak heart, right? This guy's weak. I think that that's probably one of the reasons why it's so easy that we can have wars, right? If you cut yourself off from this, you don't have to really process any of that, right? That can be really hard to watch, to stomach, to digest, to um to metabolize, right? All that stuff.
Do you ever
Oh,
have clients that ask you for remedies for heart health?
mm-hmm. All the time. And I give them hawthorn berry,
Mhm.
right? So the hawthorn is a classic heart medicine, supports the heart. Linden leaf, if you look at
Oh,
linden,
yeah.
right? It looks like a big heart. Violet leaf. You look at violet leaf, again, a heart-shaped leaf, and it's mucilaginous and it's moistening. And so there are lots of heart remedies everywhere. But hawthornberry, I'll give you a quick story about hawthornberry. When I was first studying herbalism, I was experimenting on myself and I was experimenting on my husband. And I would never tell him what I was giving him. I would just say, here, drink this. So it came time for hawthornberry. So I made hawthornberry tea and I just told him to drink it every day, right? Drink this, I bring in the little cup. Here you go, honey. And put it by his computer. Here you go. And by the third day of him drinking hawthornberry all day long, I'm in the kitchen cooking and I hear this crying in the living room. And I'm like, what on earth is going on in there? So I go in and I look and he's sitting at the computer and he's crying. And I'm like, what happened? And he goes, oh, I don't know. He goes, I love my mom. I love my brother. I love my dad. I love you. And he was listening to Breathe by Pearl Jam. And he's listening to this and he's crying. And I'm like, oh, Hawthornberry works.
I love that.
Yeah, he didn't know why he was crying. I knew why he was crying. It softened and it opened the energy here.
Wow.
And he fell into this love space, where he realized that he had all of this love for these people in his life that he hasn't been able to express. And I was giggling and laughing at him as he's crying his eyeballs out.
You're
And
like,
I was
"My
like,
experiment worked. What's next?" Where do you like to order your herbs and teas from?
So I use a local place by me called Flower Power Herbs and Roots.
Oh, cool.
But there's also Mountain Rose, there's Star West Botanicals, there's a lot of places. But I would suggest if you can support the local herbalists that are in your area, a lot of them may be growing the herbs and then picking the herbs.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So if you are lucky enough, like there's another place up by me called Woodland Essence, and she makes tinctures. And when she's picking the herbs, she's talking to the plants. She's thanking the
You're
plants for their
lucky
energy.
you're in New York and you have access to upstate New York, and like that herbalism still exists.
Yeah.
That is so neat. So I'll see if I can go online to some of those shops, online
Yeah.
stores, and support them because that makes all the difference.
Oh, totally. So they're doing good work. I think that herbalists are doing good work. I think that they have a relationship with the plants, right? A relationship with the earth in a whole different way.
So, for people that are listening to this and they're really intrigued and they want to learn more about herbalism or some of the things that we've talked about with Chinese medicine and organs, what books do you recommend that they start with?
Oh, well, I would suggest they start with anything by Matthew Wood. Um, I think he's got one called Traditional Herbalism, but anything by Matthew Wood. Robin Rose Bennett is another good one. That's for herbalism. Um, I also have some online programs, like I have my Food and Herbs as Medicine program, where I talk about food and herbs from the energetic perspective and using them as in the way TCM would, right? Chinese medicine, using the five elements and incorporating that into the food choices and the healing choices, right? I think that's really important. And, uh, also take a class. There are lots of places that you can take a class. Like I would suggest everyone take a botany class where they could just get outside and check out the plants that are growing in their area.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
know, yeah, I mean, that's a lot of fun because then you can see, wow, I can eat that plant that's in the backyard. I can eat this, right? You don't have to be so afraid if there's ever a food shortage, right? I can go get dandelion root and dandelion leaf and violet leaf and mulberries that are growing on the trees, right? There's lots of food all around us. There's an abundance of food, but we haven't been taught that.
Yeah,
We've been taught that you want food, you go to the grocery store.
yeah. I think it is elderflower is
Mm,
growing all over Southern California right now. I mean, it is literally everywhere. In all the canyons, in neighborhoods, it's everywhere.
wow.
Um, and every year I always remind myself, "Oh yeah, that's what it is. It's edible. I can make tinctures out of it. I can put it in
Yes.
honey. I can cook with it. You can sprinkle it on salads. Like you can play with it."
Yes.
And I think we get scared of going outside and picking the food.
Oh, well, I mean, look at elderflower, right? It's helping the immune system. I
Well,
think so many people could use that right now.
yeah, we're at least breathing it in, and it smells sweet and lovely.
Yeah.
Sweet, lovely, and floral.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
how do you like working with clients right now? Are you still working with clients one-on-one? Are you doing more group coaching? What are your offerings right now?
Well, I do one-on-one, plus I have group coaching, and I have a community, a community that I built for people that are interested in learning about health all the time. It's almost
Yeah.
like it's their go-to for holistic health and recipes and medicines, right? Stuff that you may not get access to on the web moving forward.
Exactly. Well, and also this is a weird time to be getting all your
Mm,
education just from Instagram and TikTok,
yeah.
because you really just don't know the source behind it.
Mm,
So we're definitely in a time where you need to find your trusted people who have the education and the years of experience, and
yeah.
then get off the social media to learn from them.
Yeah. I think that's wise. And there's so much noise out
Yeah.
there. So much noise. And you were talking about meditation before. And you said, the gurus or the people say don't have coffee before meditation. I think that if more people meditated, they'd be able to hear more things internally,
Yeah.
right? So we're bombarded with external noise. Social media, news feeds, right? All that stuff is external. But inside we have deep wisdom, right? We were all born with this ability to know, to see without seeing, to know without knowing. We all have this um, intuition and this deep inner knowing that we've been cut off from. So, meditation, I believe, helps you to get back to hearing that. What does that inner voice say that I need?
I
Right?
think more than ever, people need help to even get there because they're so
Mm.
uncomfortable with the idea of hearing their inner voice. They're
Mm.
so scared of that honesty, that that's why they numb out with fast food, with sugar, with drugs, with alcohol, with every way that you can take in marijuana these days,
Yeah.
is that they're so uncomfortable being with themselves that they
Mm.
want to numb out. And so the idea of meditating and actually hearing the truth within them, which is what's safe, I think scares them. But
Yeah.
the more you can get comfortable with the silence, the easier life can get. And that's when I always just think, go outside in nature because it's not
Mm.
uncomfortable when you're at least hearing the waves crash or the sound of the trees and the leaves blowing or the creek. It makes it easier.
Yeah, it does. And when you're out there, you can also hear the birds talking to each
Yes,
other.
they're the
Right?
best.
Tweet, tweet, tweet. That's the original Twitter.
Yeah. And they're the best in the morning because to wake up and hear these animals
Mm.
sounding like they're having a great day, you almost feel like I'm missing out. I need to get going. I better get up. Like they're at it already. So I always think it's just lovely to hear the birds. And when I was on the island of Ischia a few years ago, um, I was staying at a hotel and the walk from my hotel room to breakfast had the most exquisite sound of birds that I
Mm.
recorded the sound. I just
Mm.
sat and recorded the sound, and I'll listen to it every now and then, and I can't even believe it's real. It
Wow.
is so beautiful and healing. Um, there's just pockets all over the world where birds are just doing their thing, making their beautiful music, and we're sitting inside missing out.
Yes. And it's funny because you never see the birds like, oh, I don't want to tweet today. Oh, I'm so sad. I'm depressed. I don't want to fly. Oh, this
It's
world
really
is
funny.
awful.
Yeah, I'm just gonna sit over here and pout. No, they don't do that. It's just something
Nope.
silly we do.
Because we get stuck up here.
Yeah, yeah, that's really that's I think one of the top takeaways, that and the beet fennel apple salad from my conversation with you today, that when our brain is on that hula
Mm.
hoop, we got to stop with the coffee so we can get off.
Yeah. Yeah. Calm it down. Shh. Right?
Yeah, quiet the noise internally by using food and beverages as our medicine. And then we can return to it when we're back in balance.
Yeah. That's wise advice, sister.
I can't do it without you. It's nice little balance here. Where do you turn to keep learning and taking care of yourself and getting guidance for yourself?
Well, I'm always inspired by the people that have come before me, right? So, um, like I'll go to herb conferences or I'll anything that sparks my interest, I'll go and I'll be curious about it. Um, like I love to learn, even though I've been doing this for now 30 years, I still love to learn. Like I'm always looking, oh, let me take another class. Let me see. Like I'm going to take a botany class this summer, like another one.
Yeah.
Even though I've already been with botanists and all that stuff, I just love it. I love to learn more and more. So I I just love to keep learning. You know, whatever inspires me, I go do it because I know that I could always say, oh, I'll do that next year. Right? Oh, that thing that interests me today, oh, I'll do it 6 months from now. No, absolutely not. If I get inspired to do something, I take action on it. Otherwise, I know it's going to disappear. 20,000 other things will take the place of the thing that I'm inspired to do.
Yeah.
So I'm one of those action people. If I like something, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do that now.
Are there any books that you have on your reading list this summer or you've already picked up and started on?
Oh yeah, I'm rereading Women Who Run with the Wolves.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'm rereading it. I read it about 30 years ago, and I'm reading it for we have a book club in my community. So I'm rereading that. I also reread Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life.
Yeah.
Such a good book.
Yeah.
um, and I think I need a good fiction book, right? Because there's only so much learning you can do.
Yeah,
So
sometimes you need to break away in a fantasy that's has a
yes.
good ending.
Do you have a good one?
I don't actually. I just finished reading Ina Garten's memoir.
Oh.
And actually, it kind of feels like fiction because her li I mean, bless her. I mean, I know she worked hard when she had her Barefoot Contessa store in the Hamptons, but also she's had a very blessed life.
Mm,
And I think the book is called, like, When Luck Strikes or, Be Ready When the Luck Happens is what the book's
mm,
called, and she's been very lucky.
mm,
She has been very right place, right time, knew the right people, things just aligned. So, it's kind of like, that's really interesting, um, 'cause we're so used to reading biographies and
mm.
memoirs, which are really heavy on the struggle, and hers is very light, and it kinda shows a different life that not
Wow.
many of us read about. We're just things align and align and align, and it's like 70 years of dreamy alignment, and I'm like, "I can't even believe, but good for you, girl." Um
As you're struggling through the week.
Jeez. Gosh. The chef is not standing at the right place at the right time, but I always find hearing people's stories are really interesting. I'm trying to figure out what's on my summer reading list too, because I can only take on so much more
Yeah.
information, and I need a little fantasy and escapism. But I find it's fun when you can learn from those books too, and it's more about learning about just new places and way people
Mm,
live in different areas.
yeah.
So if I get any leads, I'll let you know.
All right, good. I'll be open to receiving that.
Yeah, I will let you know. I'll ask for it, see if it kinda comes into my space. I used to be a big library person, and I used to rent a lot of
Mm.
books from the library, so I might need to get into that. I like to test drive, so usually, like, especially with spiritual books, like any of Louise Hay's books, I would rent them out at the library first and then decide if it needed to be something that's part of my collection.
Mm. Oh, it's funny. Test drive. I like that.
Well, because
Test drive the book.
some spiritual health or wellness books you do. You need that library
Yeah.
there for that moment when you need to look it up again, like
Mm,
any of Louise Hay books and figure out I mean, I know there's ChatGPT and the internet now, but sometimes it's nice to go to the original source and
yeah.
figure out what that emotion's connected to or what
Yeah.
that body part's connected to and to have it in the book because the power can go out and you need to be able to have access to those tools at times.
Yeah. I agree. And look what just happened in Europe, right? Last month, power went out, right? In how many countries? Millions and millions of people without power. Um, So it's good to have something on hand that you could actually grab off your own shelf.
Yes.
Like even like a survival book.
Yes.
Like what to do when this goes wrong or your sink gets clogged, something like that.
Yeah, so you can never fully get rid of the books in your house. That's
Mm.
good clutter. I just like to be mindful of, like, which ones I'm bringing in permanently.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
can you leave our audience with maybe one last health or wellness tip that they can consider adding into their life this summer?
Yes. Okay. So this summer and every day, when you get up in the morning, always send yourself some love first, right? Nourish yourself, send yourself some love first before you do anything, before you take care of the kids or the husband or the dog or the cat, right? Because if you don't take care of yourself, you won't have the energy to take care of anyone else. So it's not selfish. It's actually one of the best things that you could do for everyone is to take care of yourself. So if that means that you need to sit outside with your food, right? You have to have maybe a little hibiscus tea, right? Or something like that. Uh, make a nourishing meal, invite friends over, get in community, so to speak. Because, no man is an island upon unto himself, right? We thrive in community. So this summer, grab a basket, throw some healthy food into the basket. Go grab some friends, sit under a tree or at the beach and have a picnic. Like literally have a picnic and let the ants crawl on your feet. Right? But sit and relax, right? Summertime used to be a time for relaxation, swinging in a hammock. If you can find the time to do that, swing in a hammock, go to a picnic, right? Nourish yourself, then do it. Because before you know it, the summer will be gone. You'll be back in high stress mode. Actually, the whole world is on high stress mode all the time, right? So try and calm down as much as possible and nourish yourself first and foremost.
That's some great advice. And I'll have the link so everyone can find you and connect with you in the show notes. But is there one place that you find you're most active and it's the best place for people to connect with you or continue to learn from you?
Oh, yeah. They go to www.andreabeaman.com. And from there, you can get all the things, the
Okay.
classes, the books, the community, the programs, even links to my social feeds. It's all there.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you so much for your time. It's always just such a blessing to connect with you and
You
learn from
too.
you and share with you.
Thanks, Whitney, for everything.